Hi, everybody. So we're going to officially start the premiere now. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jordan McNeil. I'm the head editor of Jenny Magazine. I'm really excited to share this issue with you, and we have a lot of reading to be done tonight, so we're just going to get going with that, and I'm not going to come up with some lengthy opening. So first up, our first reader is Melissa Guthrie. Melissa Guthrie has been a lifelong resident of Boardman, Ohio, and is a 2009 graduate of Youngstown State University. She has been writing fiction for half of her life. She has a passion for history and obscure facts about random subjects. When not loving her job at the Public Library of Youngstown in Mahoning County, Melissa can be found hard at work on her first young adult novel, set in Mahoning County during the summer of 1863. Tonight, she'll be reading from her story, The Cairn Builder.
Hello there. Is this good for everyone? Okay. First of all, I'll start out with what a cairn is. It's a human-made pile of stones. They're found all over the world, and they're used to mark boundaries, burials, and other places of significance. 3 things in this story are true. I was once told the story that the main character was told as a child, and to say that such a thing of happening to me weighed heavily on my mind is to put it lightly. I know such a person who builds cairns, but for far different reasons than what is told in this story. And I got the idea for this story after a search for stones to build into a cairn, and it was such an interesting memory that I ended up turning it into this. This is a greatly edited version of the story. It's called The Cairn Builder. When Hattie woke up in the morning, the first thing she did was check to make sure she was still alive. She had been told the story as a child, where her grandmother had woken up in the morning to find that the person she went to sleep with had died during the night. The thought always stuck in Hattie's mind. A person could die in their sleep. She'd like to make sure it hadn't happened to her. Still inhaling and exhaling hot, stale oxygen? Check. Heart pumping blood into her brain, her fingers, her toes? Check. She was still lucky to survive the night, she knew. Others were not so lucky. Not everyone was given the chance to greet the dawn. The air in the small room felt heavy, pressing her lungs. Hattie took a breath of it in and still felt as though she was suffocating. She licked her lips and found them dry and cracked. She climbed from the bed and walked into the bathroom, turning a knob to bring brown-colored water from the tap. She looked into the kitchen to see her father standing there, dressed in clothes stained a permanent shade of dirt, his eyes staring out into the cornfields that surrounded the house. He held a set of keys to his truck, and without saying a word, she knew he would go. He beckoned. Follow. They were outside before she knew it, into the truck with the vinyl seats that stuck to her legs. The sun was barely up, and yet the air felt thick, wrapping them both in a still embrace. They were silent as they left the house behind and drove up a dirt road. The road was filled with cracked holes that should have been filled with water. This summer, the rains had come sporadically and drenched the earth, but never fully satisfied its thirst. The fields of corn turned into fields of soybeans, their leaves curling brown and gold. When they reached a small pile of rocks, Father allowed the truck to stall and roll forward until it came to a stop. He took out a set of gloves, leather, worn unholy in spots, and put them on as he climbed from the truck. Hattie followed after, watching as Father selected one rock from a pile and then another, a round one colored black, a flat one brown, and flecked with something that sparkled in the dawn. Father acted solely on instinct, drawn to each rock for reasons only the universe knew. He'd been coming to this pile long before Hattie had been born. He was the chief cairn builder of the village, building towers of stone to mark places of significance, property lines in places where a sky burial had taken place. Hattie paused, her hands full of rocks, and wondered why they had come out there at all. Someone must be near death in the village. Who would be next to starve to death slowly and then given to the massive birds of prey who circled the peaks close by, waiting for their next meal? Father was always so careful with his selection. Hattie saw in his face the hard lines of concentration and the way each stone seemed to come to him rather than him choosing it. He was not a young man, no. He was old as the oldest elder in the village and had been alive long enough to see the second generation die out and the third begin to die off. He'd built more cairns than anyone else and bound more bodies with rags than anyone else. Hattie's heart fluttered once, then twice, as if it were a falcon. A thought of death and what happened after passed through her mind, and she dismissed it. If Father wanted to speak, he would. Hattie bent over and collected fistfuls of glittering quartz, rough sandstone, and the occasional piece of pink granite that would be too small of interest to the elders. She found one piece of black obsidian, black as night and smooth as water, and imagined slipping it into her pocket. She raised her eyes to the soybean fields bisected by the riverbed and imagined picking up a handful of the beans. She thought about a boy who had done just that. They left the field and drove into the foothills of the mountains, silent, before finally stopping in a clearing where new trees grew. Father climbed from the truck, dropped the tailgate, and began to move the rocks again with renewed vigor, stacking them into a pyramid. It took what felt like hours. None of the rocks wanted to stack, none would lean against each other. Time and time the pile would fall, and each time Father would stack the rocks again. Hattie ignored Father's frustration and looked down the path, imagining a procession of people coming up the hill as they did whenever someone was coming to die. They would play drums and sing soft, ancient songs. To the villagers, death was an incredible sacrifice, one appreciated by all, but appreciated above all by the elders. The elders knew that the village was running out of food, they were running out of water, and all who knew this must sacrifice if any were to survive. Funerals rarely took place after death. Instead, they involved the dying person. Many of that person's family made banners and flags, and when the time was near, they would walk up the hill with the person, playing music and singing songs. Rather than mourn, a family would celebrate, for death was a sacrifice. There had been a time death was feared rather than welcomed. Hattie strained her ears for music and wondered about Father's funeral. There had been no family left. It was just she and Father. The falcon in her chest twisted his neck and ruffled its feathers, hurting her as she remembered Father explaining the process of sky burial. First, place the person in a fetal position. Bind their hands and feet, lest they panic and try to get free. Bind their arms to their sides and their legs to their chests, and be liberal with the cloth. Wait. Wait as long as it takes. Thank you.
Our next reader is going to be Elizabeth Lehman. Elizabeth Lehman, a student at YSU, lives in Salem, Ohio. She studies professional and technical writing, draws for fun, and considers her 2 children to be her finest creations. She will be reading from her poem tonight titled A Tree in November.
I see your skeleton again. It's that time of year when you have cast aside your leaves, unflinching, unapologetically, departing thousands of tiny, foolish notions that it was ever better to hide behind some contrived beauty that is now wasted away, quietly fluttering to the ground, softly shattering beneath my footsteps and returning to formless earth. I see your skeleton again, not just your finest, greenest moment on boastful display, but every single mundane one. Every inch of limb and root telling a story of an instant when you grew, when you were. A notation of times even when the sun was not shining and the earth was frozen. Each moment equal and part of something larger than itself. A timeline of winding, curving branches. Like the lifeline across my palm, a map of a life spent, sometimes bending yet remaining unmoved.
Our next reader is Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is in his 2nd year at the Northeast Ohio Master of Fine Arts Creative Writing program. He earned his bachelor's degree in psychology at the University of Akron and discovered his love for writing his 4th year. He is working on his first novel and has finished a feature-length screenplay. Tonight, he'll be reading from his nonfiction piece, Second and Goal.
So I'm just going to read like the last 4 pages here. Why not just skip to the ending, right? Has a lot to do with me and my father, kind of like how he grew up in a blue-collar type setting, and I didn't, and how I appreciate him for that. I shifted the clipboard under my armpit and reached for the door. Locked. I searched around the entrance and found a call box. I never used one of those before. All the other complexes I'd been to, like my own, you just went right up to the person's apartment. I pressed down on the key box until Douglas appeared. I hit call. It rang, and rang, and rang some more. The anxiety of my first delivery being labeled not at home jabbed at me. Not that it would be my fault, but it would still look bad when I turned my paper in at the end of the day. Hello, Bill? A voice shouted entirely too loud from the box. No, it's Tyler. Where's Bill? See, I'm taking over his route right now. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to be your new driver every week now. I waited, and there was a slight pause. Wait, where's Bill? I'm Tyler. I'm taking over the call box timed out. What a great start this turned out to be. I set down her meals and redialed. Hi, I have your meals. The doors emitted a loud buzz. I snatched the meals and ran inside. The lobby smelled like mold, had relaxed, kicked its feet up, and made itself at home. Generic pictures of flowers and covered bridges covered the beige walls. I glanced down at the clipboard, room 522. To the elevator I walked. As soon as the doors opened, a little sign instructed me that 501 to 517 was to the left and 518 to 534 was to the right. Her brown door had a Praise the Lord sign and a big picture of a white cat. It reminded me of Gus. I thought of all the fancy feasts I would be able to spoil him with now, maybe even a new toy ball. I knocked loud and hard, assuming from our single experience her hearing may not quite be up to par. A few minutes later, an old woman answered the door. She wore a large red sweater and dangly gold earrings. Hey, hun, how are you doing? So Bill ain't coming no more? No, I think it's going to be me from now on. I was stiff. I realized even in the moment how awkward I must have looked. Well, come on in. You can set the meals over there by the microwave. My first step inside my first customer's home felt like an accomplishment. Not a single inch of the wall was left uncovered. Clocks, calendars, religious posters, anything and everything was shoved up there. Her furniture seemed nice and unused, the kind of stuff I'd expect to see at Pier 1. You give me more ham this week? You know I like ham, she said. Her eyes never lifted from the clipboard. Did she still think I was Bill? I don't really work in the kitchen, but I can probably tell them to give you more ham if you'd like that, I said. I tried to appear more social. My shoulders relaxed some. I added some inflection to my otherwise monotone answers. Thank you, I appreciate that. She handed me back the clipboard. Now give Dougie a hug now. She pulled me in tight and close. As uncomfortable as I thought it would be, it was a nice gesture. She certainly appreciated that I brought her meals. Still strange, though. She released slowly and gave me a soft pat on the shoulder. Remember now, a hug a day keeps the devil away. I nodded and encouraged her to have a great week. The walk back to my Jeep was a haze. If all my customers like this, well, that would keep things fresh, to say the least. How long would it take to lose the anxiety that accompanied new encounters? Then I remembered to break it down. What was I doing? I was delivering meals to older folks that would have difficulty getting them by themselves. I wasn't pushing credit cards. I didn't spend 4 hours folding clothes. A tinge of satisfaction crept across my face in the form of a smile. It faded when I reached my clustered Jeep, the small, cramped Jeep with poor gas mileage. I promised myself I would constantly put portions of my paycheck away each month toward buying a car with more space and better gas mileage, as in, not a truck. But before I put anything towards myself, there was one thing I needed to buy. I combed the corners of the internet to find tickets. First, I naively checked the Browns' website. I took one look at those prices and knew that was a mistake. Craigslist, eBay, and various other sites found their way into my browser's history before I found a decently priced pair on StubHub. A bit high, but we would be there, in person, together for his birthday. 12:30, 30 minutes to kick off. I sit and listen passively to my dad. He says Browns fans should tear up and eat their tickets before ever considering selling them to a Steelers fan. My Uncle Steve's friends laugh. He turns to me and smiles. There's a certain distance to his gaze. 4 empty 24-ounce Labatt's stand proudly in front of him. I'm still working on my first Angry Orchard. He's drunk, but happy drunk. You ready to hit it, Cat? He says. I shake my drink, giving away that I hardly drank any of it. I laugh. Yeah, let's head out, I said. We take turns shaking Frank and Lydia's hands and wave goodbye to Cameron. Go Browns, he shouts. Before we leave our stools, Lydia stops us and pulls out her tickets. Where are you guys sitting, she asks. Up, super high, I say. They aren't the best seats, but they should be fairly close to the 50-yard line. Her face twists to disgust. Shaking her head, she pulls out 2 extra tickets. Here, take these. She extends the tickets toward my dad. We were going to try to sell them, but you guys should take them. My dad releases a drunken chuckle and shakes his head. Come on, I really don't mind, she persists. Take them. Then my dad completely catches me off guard. He places a hand firmly on my shoulder. That's nice of you, Lydia, but these tickets are from my son. He bought them for me for my birthday. We're going up to those seats, however high they are, and we're going to have a great damn time. Her confused expression reveals she doesn't fully understand why he didn't accept the upgraded seats. But that's okay, I do appreciate that she offered. I wave goodbye one more time before we exit the bar. As we leave, my dad keeps one arm wrapped around my shoulder and pulls a Browns hat out of his back pocket. A Browns hat with a stupid dog wearing a stupid Browns helmet. Thank you.
Next up, we have Beeson O'Day. Beeson O'Day lives in Youngstown, Ohio. Graduating in a few months, she isn't going anywhere, with plans to join the Neo-MFA program in the fall. When Beeson isn't writing fiction, you can find her experimenting with poetry. She usually has an old Elvis record going on the turntable for inspiration. Tonight, she'll be reading her poem, Wild and Running.
I'm leaning against my car, scarlet, trying to look cool, because the car sure don't, with 2 slashed tires and paint chipped, falling off like snowflakes anytime I pick up speed. The trashes last them are headed this way, a pack of animals that got no respect. I'm outnumbered, but the second I flash, the heater sitting tight between the band of my ripped jeans and slender hips, they'll be off running down back where they came from. You learn the hard way in this neighborhood you can't trust anyone. You learn the hard way that people don't got your back. Not even the boys in this neighborhood where blood runs cold and guns are toys. I'd say you can count on family, but they're messed up too. With my old lady on street corners carving scars with razors, and dad's always gone paying other women for favors, and I'm just a burden, a responsibility no one wanted, in and out of jail, seen too much, forever haunted. Mama once told me I had to make a choice, give in to it all and make sure others hear my voice. So I run plastic combs through greased back hair, stuff fists in black leather pockets, slip into old muddied boots and wander life like space rockets. I'll take a long drag even though I hate smoking, 'cause it's my only relief from drowning, from choking on all the dirt that makes staying clean so hard, especially when living a block and a half from the bar. I'll kick cans and smash bottles instead of loud screaming, ignore all the cuts, ignore my heart bleeding and beating for more, stuck living so tough, just a rebel boy. Thanks.
Our next reader from the Jenny issue is Amber Palmer. Amber Palmer is a double major in professional and technical writing and theater studies at Youngstown State University. While her writing focuses in playwriting, she also enjoys writing speculative fiction short stories. She intends on earning her MFA in playwriting after graduation. Tonight, she'll be reading from her story, Oasis.
Hi guys. So I am really nervous, and I'm gonna throw it out there right now that I've already told Jordan that if I pass out, it's her fault, and she has to catch me. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So here we go. This is from my story, Oasis. The desert landscape unfolded before me as the sun peeked up over the horizon. We rode through a cloud of dust to the constant rhythm of my horse's gait as my head nodded against my chest. It had been a long ride, a lot longer than usual, without finding a town to stay in. It was a shame, really, to see so many abandoned towns and cities now serving as expensive headstones for humanity. It was the cities that fell first. Close proximity made infection spread all the easier, but even rural areas weren't safe when the animals got infected, too. Those of us who survived those first few months kept waiting for someone to restore order, for a vaccine to come out and this disease to fall into obscurity. But as months rolled into years, we stopped waiting. No one was coming with a magic wand to fix everything. I reached behind me to adjust my tried and true shotgun that had been rubbing me wrong as the shadows of several buildings came into view. It looked like nothing to be excited over, just a cluster of homes that probably made up a small development before humanity fell. But there was one promising detail. They had a fence. As I approached the fence, all I could think of was the prospect of water and food. Other than the sparse supplies I had scrounged up as I looted the empty towns, mostly everything had been picked over. Even jewels and electronics were taken, but only God knows why, since none of that stuff meant anything anymore. "Halt," a voice called from the fence. I pulled my horse back and raised my head to look at the man stationed atop the wooden fence. Getting closer to it made me realize that the fence must be just for false security, because it looked like a gentle breeze could knock the rickety thing over. "Not looking for trouble," I said, clearing the sleep out of my voice. "Just looking to trade. I've got some supplies, some furs. All I'm looking for is some water and a place for the night. Who's with you? The voice asked. Nobody, just me and Ruby here, I answered, patting my horse. The man hesitated before climbing down from his post and unlatching the fence. The sweet relief of seeing the houses, even if they were in states of disrepair, made my knees weak. Some folks had running water and electricity, and I couldn't help but pray that I'd hit the jackpot and found one of those towns. Hey, mister, the man said, making me stop. Mrs., I answered, swinging my leg off the horse and sliding down. The man looked me up and down before getting flustered. Oh, sorry, Mrs. If you're looking for a place to lay your head, Father Williams keeps the church open for drifters, the man said, pointing to one of the homes at the end of the straight street. Is this the whole neighborhood? I asked, counting 10 of them. They weren't small houses, that's for sure, but it seemed strange that a string of 10 houses would be by itself out here in the desert. Yes, ma'am. According to Elise, she's lived here before everything happened. This plot of land was owned by the Tuckers, some rich family. Guess the mama wanted the house for her and her family so they could all live together, he answered, tucking his thumbs into his belt loop as we looked over the town. Not all of the houses are finished, but they're better than nothing. Oh, I'm not complaining, I was just wondering, I said quickly as I took Ruby by her lead and started down the dirt road. Thank you for opening the gate. No, wait just a second, he said, leaving the gate to swing as he ran over to me. You got any weapons? Of course I do. How do you think I'm standing here? I asked. I'm gonna need them then, he said, holding his hand out. Can't just let anyone wander in here with a gun. Fair enough, I said nervously as I reached around to hand him my shotgun and into my holster to give him my pistol. I felt naked without any sort of protection, but at the same time I couldn't help but feel safer in this town. If no one had weapons, why would I need them? Now I best be going. Thank you again. No problem, just don't make me regret it, he answered as he latched the gate and took his place at the post again. The town was still asleep as I walked through. Each of the suburban homes were labeled, either with shop names or with resident names, with white paint that they probably found in one of the half-built homes. The last two homes in the stretch were a town jail/town hall and Father Williams Methodist Church. The home they picked for the church was oddly appropriate, being it was in a Victorian style with a pointed roof and circular room. They'd even painted the windows to look like stained glass. I'll be back, girl, hopefully with water, I said to Ruby as I tied her to what used to be a mailbox. Just as the man had said, the door to the church was unlocked. I felt like I was intruding into a home as I nudged it open and peeked into the dark house. Hello, I called out as I wandered from the entrance room and into what must be their sanctuary. There were pews that looked like they were built from extra wood, probably from the houses in construction, and a music stand with fabric draped over it to resemble a pulpit. Hello, child, a voice said from behind me. I turned quickly to see who I assumed was Father Williams, standing there in a white priest's robe. Hi there, I was told you had a place to stay for the night, I said, for once not feeling threatened by the presence of a stranger. There was something about his soft features and the way that he was hunched over that reminded me a lot of my granddad. Of course, my church is open to all, just follow me, he said, gesturing for me with his hand as we walked from the sanctuary and back into the entrance room. He slowly started up a set of stairs that seemed to be a little too steep for an old guy to be taking, but I followed behind him, getting ready to catch. What should I call you, my dear? Sadie, I answered. Do y'all happen to have water? We do, he said proudly. I'll get you a pitcher once we get you settled. Can my horse have some too? I asked, feeling almost like a child for asking, but Ruby was my wheels. I needed her if I was going to make it past this place. We have plenty. You can even shower and wash your clothes if you'd like, he said with a smile as we made it up the stairs and started down the small hall. He stopped at the door, unlocked it, and gestured to it. Would this suit you? A powder blue room was a traveler's dream. There was a bed with thin quilt, a table with a basin to get washed up at, and a window that let out a nice cool breeze. Above the bed was a painting of Jesus looking up to heaven. This is perfect, thank you, I answered, resisting the urge to throw myself on the bed.
Okay, so now we're going to take like a 15-minute intermission, get some food, coffee, buy some tickets for the raffle basket, and then when we come back, we're going to have the readers from the winners of the SGA essay contest, and then also we're going to have the staged reading of our winning 10-minute play. So next up we have the winners of the student government essay contest, reading from the essays they wrote. And to introduce them is Gabriella Gessler, who is the vice president of SGA.
Hi, everyone. As Jordan mentioned, SGA held its first annual SGA essay contest. All the participants were prompted with 3 separate topics, all sharing the common component of Youngstown's rich history, culture, as well as continued prosperity. So first, I just want to say thank you to the gallery for this beautifully artistic space. We're so fortunate to have it here. Thank you to Jenny for the collaboration. This is wonderful, and congratulations on your premiere. So the first writer that I'd like to introduce and our first place winner from the essay contest is Jillian Smith.
Okay, so for anyone who knows me at all, in true Jillian fashion, I forgot to bring the printed out copy, so I will be reading it off of my phone. So that just gives you a little glimpse into my soul. Get to know the writer. Okay. Ahem. Growing up, Youngstown for me held the same academic curiosity as that one time I watched a tarantula start to digest a fly from behind the glass of a pet store tank. Kind of interesting, kind of gross, but safely enough removed from myself so as to not impact me terribly much. I was taken aback, however, when I was forced to confront this strange Youngstown world while on assignment for the Yo Mag during my freshman year. My task? Track down and cover an elusive figure of Youngstown lore, the mythical artist James Pernado. A hidden studio perched atop a rather colorful gentleman's clothing store in the heart of downtown would reveal what was my first exposure to the secret world of Youngstown artists. Dominating the space amongst scattered Rorschach-type pencil sketches and steel pyramid sculptures hung a giant painted mural with bold emblazoned reds. It was entitled The Passion and was a stylized image of Youngstown's steel-producing skyline interposed with a depiction of the crucifixion of Jesus. Pernado was one of these strange bohemian Youngstown art people who managed to keep a tiny quivering heartbeat of the creative culture of the city alive. They faithfully put brush to canvas while crime raged around them, while the river near them was condemned with a no-contact ban, and while I went urban spelunking in the abandoned Paramount Theater next door. You're not supposed to know that, but I did it. I returned to Youngstown 2 years ago after having left to pursue the sorts of cultural amenities that bigger cities had to offer. But whatever this place was that I returned to, it was vastly different from the Youngstown I knew. Youngstown is truly in the midst of a renaissance, and the artists are some of the ones leading its charge. The Youngstown I have returned to is one that is pulsating with a creative energy, electrified with this artistic passion that constitutes a zeitgeist unlike anything I could have predicted. Yes, I used a zeitgeist. Boom. This city, I once considered a cultural outpost for a few eccentric artists, hit me with the full force of its deep bench of creative talent when I attended what was billed as a discussion about art in Youngstown at a new nonprofit art gallery downtown. Here, those bohemian artists of old met and discussed issues surrounding arts with newer artists, young and old, black and white, student, working class, professional, they were all there. And they were all finding innovative ways to connect art in Youngstown with business, with science, with food, with economic opportunity for all. There were elected officials, there were university faculty, there were community organizers, and there were these incredibly dedicated and talented and passionate artists themselves. There's this cultural ecosystem of creativity being created here in Youngstown, with art quickly becoming one of our greatest assets. It's being led by people who have stopped asking, where is the opportunity, and have instead started asking, how can I use my talents to create opportunity? These brave, passionate, and maybe weird souls are my favorite cultural attraction in Youngstown. Thank you.
Okay, and before I introduce our next reader, I failed to mention the most important part were the judges that participated in this contest. So they were Dr. Karen Becker from YSU, Jim Kostler from the YVI, and then Carly Tressel Allison, President Tressel's daughter, who is an active writer right now. So, all right, and then our next reader is Jane Catlos. She was our second place winner for the contest.
It's really tough to top Jill Smith. But thanks for letting us be here tonight. I just have a couple, these are just some of my thoughts and reflections about how I feel about Youngstown. So when I was little, I didn't have much of an opinion about Youngstown. Powers, Stambaugh, and Mill Creek Park all held cherished memories for me. Grandma even used to take me down to the Butler, and I remember reading, as we passed under the bridge, "Let knowledge serve the valley." But I didn't really have a concept of Youngstown as a whole, due to the stigma that the city was a bad place to be. When I started college, though, I fell in love with Youngstown. I hadn't realized how much I knew about the history until I showed my new roommates around town. Grandpa's time in the mills, Mom's old job downtown, the fact that I had been enchanted by a past that I could only see remnants of. These all became my motivation to learn more. Professors encouraged me to fuel my passion through taking on Youngstown-focused research projects, which I did enthusiastically. And though it drives my friends crazy, I will get up on my soapbox and preach the gospel of this city through and through to any and all naysayers. But I understand the allure of the underdog mentality I exhibit. Youngstown has endured decades of a rough reputation, and clinging to the remaining gems acts as a reminder that something special is here. A visit to Mill Creek, the downtown, your parents always running into someone they know at the Golden Dawn, MVR, or otherwise. Yet despite all of the great memories I have enjoyed in this city, I know that there are plenty of Youngstown residents who have not experienced the same opportunities I have. Poverty, blight, and a floundering school system are all problems that we need to come to terms with. I found through my experiences and firsthand knowledge, rather than the stereotypes I grew up with, I had reshaped my opinion of Youngstown. My hope is that just as I did, others can become engaged and begin problem solving in the city as well. It's heartwarming to be part of a changing Youngstown. But as we move forward, I hope we do not forget why we are doing so. Hasty decision-making will not address our problems, but shove them elsewhere. I hope to see a new Youngstown built for all, not just for those who can write the check. Common sense and rationale, rather than emotion alone, must guide our efforts. Moving forward, it is not bad to hold on to the threads of the past, because they can be woven into our new tapestry. Sheet and tube, Strausses, and good humor will not be forgotten. They will just be paired with newer icons like the Covelli Center, the YBI, and ones we cannot yet imagine. Unbiased, we must acknowledge the good and bad of Youngstown. Talk about crime just as much as cookie tables, of unemployment just as much as tech belt aspirations, of shrinking a city just as much as fighting blight. Utilizing our collective knowledge is the way to truly serve the valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, for your wonderful piece. Our last reader of the evening is Amanda Miller. She was also our third place winner of the contest. Also, there's more pastries from Pressed as well as coffee, so feel free to grab some. Right? Amanda.
Hello. I approached mine kind of creative nonfiction memoir-esque, so I have a title for mine, and the title of it is Memories of Wood and Steel. The first time I saw Idora Park, the coasters and buildings lay like mammoth skeletons of wood and steel. We drove through Mill Creek Park with our fingertips greasy and grainy with the salt of fast food fries. My aunt's idea of babysitting my brother and I was to turn us loose in the park. We were feral back then, my brother and I. I had heard of Idora Park long before I ever set sights on the ruins. Idora was talked about like a girl who went missing, a girl who died too young. The first time I saw the remains, it was the peak of summer. My brother and I, with our aunt on our heels, took a turn through the trees, probably following the footfalls of wild turkey or chipmunks burying their food. We never stayed on the path too long. There were always more places to explore beyond the Witch's Cave and Cinderella Bridge. We thirsted to wear down the earth with the soles of our feet. The edge of the woods gave way to rocky, fractured cement that cracked under us. Just a generation before, we stumbled upon it. Idora Park. Who would have thought just a generation before Idora Park would have had its band music playing from the speakers? The smell of popcorn, fried foods, and the sweat of the hundreds of people who would have filled the air. The first time I saw the forgotten rides, my aunt pointed to each one and taught me and my brother their names. The wildcat rose high above the trees, the jackrabbit with its twists and turns, the rocket ship of rusted metal, the caterpillar. Each wooden remnant was more bony and lifeless than the last. Crows instead of teenagers, perched on the dismantled coasters. A wide circle in the ground was where the carousel used to be. We explored between these megaliths that were being pushed out by the young trees and the green, tall grass. Mill Creek Park was reclaiming the space once again. There was no sign to mark this graveyard of long-ago summers and heat-fueled excitement. The first time I saw the decaying steel yards my dad once worked in, I gave them no more thought beyond the whistling that breezed through the sheet and rod. When the Youngstown exodus happened, the whispers of those who remain remembered these great steel yards. Though, standing in the pebbled lot, I think it was the burning of Idora Park that led to this shrinking city. Gone was the place that held company picnics, the place that brought in tourism, and the promise of sun-soaked memories nestled among waterfalls and picnic benches. A resurgence of the city should happen beyond the bars, a place outside of the walls as well. Where there is a collective remembrance of crime and broken-down neighborhoods, the bright spots are often overlooked because there is no monument. There are just spoken words and printed pictures of the laughter that can return. Thank you.
So next up we have the YSU APL members going to give us a stage reading of our winning play for our 10-minute play contest. And my Vice President, Amber, is going to talk a little bit about the contest.
Hey again, guys. So this 10-minute play contest all started with Jenny Magazine has started doing this thing where we want to do something new with each issue of Jenny Mag. At the beginning of last semester, Jordan and I were kind of talking about different things we could do, and we both wanted to do something with playwriting and landed on a 10-minute play contest. As somebody who does write plays, I've found it's really difficult to find literary magazines to submit them to, and that showed when we did this because we got over 50 submissions. I think it was around 60 some submissions. And so I am extremely proud to say that as of next issue of Jenny Mag, we will have a drama section in Jenny Magazine. So hooray for that. So tonight's play was chosen by Jordan, our head editor of Jenny Mag, myself, who is Vice President of Student Literary Arts Association and the Black Box Chair of Alpha Psi Omega, the YSU Theater Honors Society, and Claudia Gage, who is the Vice President of Alpha Psi Omega. So a little bit about our playwright tonight. His name is Matthew Conkle. He is an award-winning film producer and screenwriter. He's co-written the feature film Neptune from Last House Productions, which was an official selection of the 2016 Slam Dance Film Festival, and is currently making the festival circuit. Matthew is also a widely published author of fiction and poetry in publications including Danse Macabre, the Ionia Review, Linguistic Erosion, Liquid Imagination, The Newer York, Paragraph Planet, Postcard Shorts, and Street Cake Magazine. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our actors and ask them to come up here, and we're going to read to you his play, Confessions Air. Confessions Air, a short play by Matthew Conkle. Cast of characters. Lisa, a woman with a deceitful past, 20s to 30s, played by Sarah. Blake, Lisa's husband, unaffected, 20s to 30s, played by Jack. Kim, a passenger, 30s to 50s, played by Sam. Carol, a flight attendant, 20s to 50s, played by Brooke. The time is now, and the setting is a commercial airplane on the verge of crashing. Blake and Lisa sit next to one another. Kim sits across the aisle reading a magazine. They shake and convulse their bodies with the turbulence of the flight. Carol, the flight attendant, stands upstage at the back of the plane and speaks into the PA.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to bring you the news that we are currently in an out-of-control descent. Our pilots are doing everything they can to get us to safety. If necessary, oxygen masks will drop from the ceiling. Place the masks firmly over your face. Oxygen is flowing even though the bag may not inflate. Please remain in your seats with your seatbelts securely fastened and try to remain calm.
Carol exits upstage.
Remain calm? What's the point of staying calm?
Try and focus on your breathing. Remember yoga classes.
We're all going to die. Can't I panic if I want to?
You might survive.
We're crashing into the mountains from thousands of feet above the earth, Blake. How are we going to survive?
You never know. We might hit a soft spot.
Don't be ridiculous.
I love you, Lisa.
I love you too, Blake. So, I guess this is confession time. We should confess the wrongdoings we've committed since we've been together. So, we can die with a clean conscience.
Okay, good idea.
Carol enters and speaks into the PA. She struggles to maintain a professional, composed attitude within the escalating crisis.
Ladies and gentlemen, an update on our status. Our starboard engine has ceased to function and we continue our incredibly fast downward plunge into the earth. Please turn off and stow all electronic devices until the plane has come to complete and total, destruction. Drinks and snacks are available for cash. Thank you for your continued cooperation.
Carol exits.
Cooperation? What are we going to do? Rebel against gravity?
Are you going to eat your peanuts?
Lisa looks in her bag of peanuts.
Thank you.
Kim munches on the peanuts while reading a magazine.
We should get to our confessions before it's too late.
Okay. Complete disclosure. I'll go first and we'll take turns. Okay, so, remember the meditation retreat I went to last spring?
Yes.
Had an affair with the yoga instructor. I'm sorry, it was just that one time. I'm sorry, Blake, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay, Lisa. I understand.
Your turn.
Okay. Remember that time you were away in San Francisco giving a lecture on hydroponics?
Yes.
I used your shampoo. I'm sorry.
My shampoo?
Yes, but not the conditioner, I swear.
Carol enters.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that our port engine has joined our starboard and malfunctioned. Any attempt that may have been possible of making it to a suitable landing site is now hopeless. Thank you for flying with us. Have you considered a Hawaiian getaway? Flights to the land of 1,000 beaches are now 20% off if you book before June 1st. Hawaii. Get some sunshine in your life.
That sounds like a fun idea, doesn't it?
You used my shampoo? That's what you have to confess.
I feel awful. I know how you are about my using your shower products.
I tell you, I had an affair. We're about to die, and that's the thing you have to confess to me?
I tried to think of the worst thing.
That's the worst thing?
Well, yeah.
There must be something else.
I might have used your towel too, but I would have washed it immediately afterwards.
My towel? My fucking shampoo?
Well, that was I had that presentation that day, so...
I don't fucking believe this. upset. Upset? I'm astounded. What the hell is wrong with you? What do you mean? What do I mean? I didn't know I married the control subject at some university study in morality. Well, apparently, besides numerous extreme bathroom etiquette violations, you haven't done anything.
Sweetheart, it's okay. It's not a contest. I forgive you for all your missteps in our marriage.
All my missteps? It was one stupid mistake, just one stupid sexual happenstance.
So, I didn't cheat on you. I'm sorry?
I doubt you would so much as cheat on a diet for me.
I don't understand. You're upset because I never had an affair?
Lisa turns to Kim.
Excuse me.
Just 1 second. Let me finish this paragraph.
Okay. What's the worst thing you've done in your life?
Jaywalking.
Jaywalking.
Got a ticket, too. That's what I get for being in a hurry.
Carol enters.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've got bad news and worse news. The bad news, the pilots will try and put up as long as possible, but our total obliteration looks to be an eventuality. The worst news is that our black box has failed, along with everything else, so if they ever find us, they won't even know what happened. There's a few things I want to say. We do indeed talk about you passengers behind your back, and usually say the most derogatory things. Those bags that don't inflate, yeah, there's no oxygen flowing in them. That's all bullshit. Of course there's no oxygen flowing. It's not inflated. If anyone wants a drink, find it yourself. I'm gonna have 1 or 10.
Carol exits.
Maybe I don't understand. I only told you the truth.
Well, aren't you just Mr. Peter Perfect?
Didn't you want me to lie?
Yes! Lie, curse, covet. Self-flagellation, anything to get you off the nice list.
Lisa turns to Kim across the aisle.
Excuse me again. I'm sorry. I know this may not be the best time, what with the plane crashing and everything, but would you have sex with my husband? I know it's a lot to ask. I would, but I've taken a vow of celibacy until marriage. But we're going to die.
You don't know that. We might have a soft spot.
I'm the only immoral person on this plane.
I did eat your peanuts.
My peanuts.
I'm allergic, but
I love them.
a few hives are worth the risk.
You're not immoral, darling. You just have a momentary lapse of judgment. Completely.
Oh, shut up.
Carol enters. Now drunk, she pulls a bottle of alcohol which she slugs from during her next speech.
Ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen, I'll forget it. Hey, everybody, listen up. We're about to crash into a large fucking rock. Bodies will be flying everywhere. Make sure you're buckled up nice and tight, or don't. What the fuck does it matter?
I'm going to get the flight attendant.
No, please.
Excuse me.
Oh, of course. What can I do for you? I mean, we're all going to be smoking detritus in a minute, but in my last few golden moments alive, there's nothing I'd like more than to get you whatever you want.
I'm sorry, but will you have sex with my husband?
I'd be happy to.
Great.
But we're about to crash. Can I do it after the destruction?
No. How can you? It has to be before. That's the whole point.
The point?
Yes, I don't want to go to my death being the only adulterer in our relationship.
Adults what?
Adulterer.
Adulterer.
Adulterer. Never mind. I want you to have sex
Hey,
with my husband.
You're cute. Let's get naked.
Not me.
Come on, peaches. What does it matter? We're all going to die.
Exactly, and that's why you should have sex with my husband.
Carol looks up red
explore new horizons.
Oh, Jesus. Is there any woman here who wants to have sex? Someone who isn't a closeted lesbian? Not even someone from Coach?
Well, everybody, time to say sayonara to this. Goodbye. Adios.
Excuse me, is there a window seat I could switch to?
I never knew meeting my demise could suck so much.
Try to stay positive. Maybe we'll see each other in the afterlife.
Blake, if there's an afterlife, I don't think we're going to the same place.
The plane lurches, all scream as we go to blackout.
Wow, that was really great. Can we do another round of applause? Okay, so we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. So the last chance to go and buy raffle tickets and all that stuff over there. I had other words, but I lost them. And then when we come back from the break, we'll be polling the raffle tickets and I'll come up with some kind of closing statement. Okay, so we're gonna draw the raffle baskets now. So first we're picking the winner for the theater themed basket. Do they have a name? Okay, and our winner is Dom Fonts. And for the book basket, when she picks a ticket,
Merity Weller.
Merity Weller. So I just want to thank, the mic's over here. So I just want to thank you all for coming. This was a great turnout, and I always appreciate great turnouts for these things. And I actually have a lot of thank yous. I have a little lengthy list, so I hope you'll indulge me for a minute. First, I want to give a huge thank you to my staff. We had a lot of submissions that we read through, a lot of cool things we were doing. I'm going to forget everybody's name, so could my staff please stand up or raise your hand so people know who you are? Okay. And there's also even a couple staff members who couldn't make it tonight. We had a good-sized staff this issue, which is always good. I especially want to thank all my staff, though, my vice president, Amber, and my assistant editor, Chris, because they dealt with me the most when I was stressed out. I also want to give a huge thanks to our advisor, Chris Barzak. Oh, move over there. For just his general guidance and help and also dealing with me when I was stressed out. I was stressed out a lot this semester. And I also want to thank the Soap Gallery for letting us have the premiere here. This is an awesome space. I want to give a huge thank you to the YSU APO folks for helping us with the play contest and performing it tonight. They were awesome. So another round of applause for them. And I want to thank Gabby and the rest of the SGA for approaching us about partnering for the premiere and everything, which was just a great opportunity, and I thought it went really well. So thank you for that. And then I also have to give a huge thanks to our web manager who could not make it tonight, Dave, because without him we wouldn't have an issue because the rest of us don't really know web design that well. And speaking of which, the issue is now live on jennymag.org, so make sure you check it out to see the rest of the pieces that we picked to be published. There are 2 plays and then a handful of poems, stories, creative nonfiction. And then also keep an eye out on Saturday-ish, I'm hoping the official announcement for our plans for issue 11 is going to be posted on our blog, and that'll be shared on our Facebook and our Twitter. We're really excited about what's going on for that, and submissions for that should open sometime next week once I have all of that ironed out. So thank you again for coming. Make sure you grab any leftover coffee, water, pastries that are over there. Please take them, and have a good night.